To bear this and that. I'm your host, Cynthia Deoleonardo. We're going to explore the wants and true desires of successful relationships. I'm going to take you behind closed doors with one-on-one interviews with men and women from all walks of life on making relationships magical or not so much. And boy, do we have a great show planned for you today. It's all about love on this show. So what are we doing today? We are lucky enough to have Leonard Dozier, award-winning Addie, actor, songwriter, singer. He does it all, folks. I could keep going on and on and on about all of Leonard's accomplishments, but hear this. You know I love songs. Anybody that follows me on Twitter and Facebook, I'm in love with love songs, right? So Leonard is going to perform his latest, newest love song, I Love You. Welcome to the show, Leonard.
Glad to be here, Cynthia.
You're
Really glad.
Oh, my word. And we're so happy to have you. I want to do some quick shouts with you, Leonard. Shout-outs to my friends out there. Miss Denise, love you. Jennifer, JJ, they're the authors of Single and Hating It. They're going to be here next Tuesday, so I can't wait to have them here. My friend Ebony at Treppin in Philly, and Poetic Flow. Poetic Flow sends me the most beautiful poetry ever, and you could check it out. Just go at Poetic Flow, and you'll be lucky enough to get some of that good stuff that she floats around to a lot of us weekly, really. Hey, love shouts to you all. Thanks for listening. So, Leonard, we're so lucky to have you today to do a live performance. Tell me a little bit about this song and what inspired you to write this.
Yeah, the song is called "I Love You," and it's "I love you" with the letter U, as opposed to the YOU. Now, the reasoning behind that, I mean, there isn't really anything sophisticated behind that, but trying to really just give a contemporary spin on the language. That's all that is. But the song itself is a smooth, mid-tempo groove that is about letting someone go. Because, you know, what's interesting, you know, we think of love in terms of endearment and candlelight and roses, but sometimes love is being able to let somebody go. And, you know, I've had some experiences with that, so, and vice versa. So I thought it would be a great song, a great topic to explore. And literally about, I guess, 2.5, 3 years ago, I came up with the concept for the song.
So 2-3 years later, you just went back to it. Was this by chance?
Yeah, well,
or life experience?
Going back to it to really commercialize it and release it. You know, the recording process had already started for it. But finally saying, okay, you know, this is Rob Williams, my manager. You know, we had sort of a listening party, if you will. And he said, you know, Leonard, I think this cut is the cut to go with right now. And it makes sense because it's certainly a theme for me that I can relate to at this particular time in my own life. So, man, for me, it's like, you know, what's that saying? You know, life imitating art or art imitating life. I mean, it really is that. Really is that for me.
Those are the exact thoughts that I had when I listened really closely to the lyrics.
Yes.
At first I thought it was going to be about serenading the one you love.
Oh.
But then I thought, okay, this is a departure song. This is about being big enough and strong enough to let the one that you love go.
Yeah, because, you know, think about this, Cynthia. How many times do we say, you know, I love you, and I love you enough to let you go. But when it comes time for that separation or that breakup or whatever, you know, then the claws come out, the possessiveness comes out, that sense of holding on, you know, comes out. And, you know, then you go, well, I thought you said you loved me.
Right.
And so to me, I think true love is freeing. True love is liberating, you know, and it takes a lot. And I know, you know, women, you know, are typically thought of as much more emotional human beings than men. But I find that also with this song, it's a concept that I think us as men, we have to grasp as well. That and we do have an emotional side. It's not all just logic with men.
I think so much more than women sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Just because men are, it's not on their sleeves, it's not on the surface. You can't see it sometimes.
Absolutely.
Which means, in a lot of cases, that it's much deeper because you do hold it inside.
And it's interesting to piggyback on that same point. I read something about a week ago, and I don't know the source offhand, but it talked about how men, it pretty much echoes what you just said, that men are actually in some ways more emotional when it comes to splitting with a woman or breaking up. Women, for the most part, so for instance, if you guys know that a relationship is over, you guys have no trouble at all saying, it's over and here are the reasons, A, B, C, D, E, and F.
But you know why that is? Why? Why do women depart? It seems it's not easy for women, but do you know the answer to that?
I don't know that I know, but I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
My thought is that I think for women, you guys have tried and tried and tried.
Bingo.
Tried and tried. So, all right, one for me.
Bingo, Leonard, because you know what? By the time a woman gets there, she has been there 52 times already. She has worked it inside out, upside down, and sideways to make the relationship work. And with every effort she makes, there's a realization of what's really happening in this relationship, because the issue about love is coming to terms with the reality.
Yes.
And so many of us have a very difficult time with that. I tweeted today, is love an illusion? Because sometimes people just, I think, aren't there like they should be.
Interesting.
It's a surface love. I think we're in love with thinking we're in love.
Yes.
But you hit on something that I talk about a lot, is true love.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Yes.
True love, right, is right down. You sing it. You sing with a passion.
Yeah.
True love is when a love is in the heart and soul.
Yes.
And then the mind. Because then it's I wouldn't say that's an addiction, because then there's a lot of speculation that love is addictive, and I do believe that as well.
Sure.
But true love is when it is deep beneath the surface, down into the heart and part of your soul.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I wonder how many of us really have ever experienced that or know what that is.
Well, and I also think that love is a commitment.
Feeling me?
It's a commitment, it's a commitment. It's not just a feeling, and
yes.
it took me some years to understand that. And how about I got married not knowing that that's what love was? So think about that for a second. That love is actually a commitment, but I got married not knowing that. I got married thinking love is more of a feeling. So obviously that's...
Hey, men, all you men out there, did you hear that?
But I was very young, too, so when I got married, I was 24. I mean, that's not super young, but
that is super young.
But yeah.
Yes. For women and men, 24 is just out of college. And, a lot of us are still going to school at 24.
Absolutely.
With certain professions.
Absolutely.
So how can you possibly know, with all the distractions that you have, of in your youth trying to discover who you are, how could you provide that to somebody else on that deep level?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. On that deep level of true love.
You can. You really can.
I think we sometimes mix up having a partner and companionship with true love.
Or infatuation.
Or fear also of not wanting to be alone. So you take in a partner, and and women are really guilty of this. So women just want that, even though a lot of women won't own up to this. Everybody still thinks and wants to believe that they can have that fairy tale.
Yeah. And speaking of that fairy tale, I mean, what is that fairy tale? think that's the ultimate question, particularly.
It's only things you read about, folks. Okay.
You know, those are things you see, like in the Notebook or some romance novel.
Yes.
But you know, also with that being said, this song for me, because I'm one of those guys who can admit that I'm more of the sentimental type, and so that kind of leads me to a certain proclivity for romance. Now, does it always work out in my favor? Absolutely not. Sometimes it works against me. But, a song like I Love You.
I love your honesty.
Well,
Leonard,
I mean,
really.
listen, I mean, I don't think you want me to come on the show to tell a bunch of lies. And I don't think it helps the show. And I think, as we've talked about, being as passionate as I am about your show and what it has to offer and the message,
Thank you.
It's really key for me to come in and really enhance.
That's why I wanted
enhance
you
the
here,
message,
because
so.
you do that in every way, even just the way you speak. It is so transparent and so real. I talked about that. I always talk about just be real.
Yeah.
How can we really have love if you're not real?
Absolutely.
If we're pretending or if there's a mask on, people can never see you, nor can you see yourself.
Absolutely.
If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. And it does take some time.
Self-reflection.
It takes some time to get there. I think with men, I think we're very surface. We're very some would even say shallow at sometimes. And I think for the most part, we don't, as you talked about earlier, we don't like to go in depth with emotions for the most part. But now the other thing is I'm also an actor. So as an actor, I have to be comfortable with emotions. So that's something to think about. And I'll just...
But I wonder how much of your training has to do with you being so external with your feelings and not inhibited. But something that I see, I don't think you can make that stuff up.
No, not at all.
I think you are what I'm seeing, and I don't think that's really the actor in you. I think I'm seeing the real Leonard Dozier, the romantic, especially when you say, because you've been here before and we've shared, you took on a family at 24.
Absolutely.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Men.
Yeah.
Women do it all the time.
Right.
Women do it all the time, and women do it all the time alone. But for a man at 24 to take on a family and someone else's children and make that commitment, whether you know it or not, you did make a form of commitment right there. Because what you did, Leonard, was you made a huge sacrifice.
Right. Absolutely.
So
and
it's not all the acting.
No,
okay?
and it's funny because, and that's so important to me, and I thank you for stressing that, because, I've, been in relationships and particularly at the start of relationships, and the thing I'll get from women, is, well, you're an actor. How do I know you're not acting right now? And and I'm just like, well,
Do you really mean that? Or
because I don't know.
Just say this to everybody.
Yeah, do you say this to everybody? And one of the things that I like to point out all the time
That's a good point,
is, and here's something. I go away from the whole relationship thing, and here's what I say to them. Well, you have to understand that even as an actor, I hate acting. So once you understand that part of it,
I don't understand that part.
Come
again.
I hate acting.
Really?
Hate it. Now, watch what I mean by that.
Yes.
In other words, I have no interest in performing or pretending to be something. So when I'm on stage or in a film or whatever, I am being someone else. And to me, there's a difference. There's acting and being. So I say to them, well, the problem is, I know what you're saying, but my own philosophy is that I don't really care for acting.
You learn something new every day about this field. Just when I thought I knew it all about the entertainment industry, I do not.
Yeah, and that's so, and then they just look at me, and I said, well, now that should explain to you that I'm about being in the moment. So being in the moment means that right now, this moment that we're sharing, this is real.
I could tell.
This is it.
I see him, I feel him. This is not a call-in. Leonard is here with me in the studio. I'm reaching out and touching. I wish you all could see that. But Leonard, you are about as real as you can get, and I love what you said just now, that you don't like acting.
No.
It's
No.
it's preparing to get into character.
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
And, you know, I feel as a person, I'm who I am. You know, there's no character. I mean, I'm you know, I'm who I am, and you know, but I've had that said to me often, and I understand it from a woman's perspective. I mean, you know, certainly, I mean, you know, as an entertainer, we already have this sort of label, if you will, of you know, of not being the best people to date or the best people to marry, and you know, I've had discussions with people about that, and I go, well, you know, I have daughters, so the honest way to answer that is, oh man, I don't know that I would want them to date an entertainer, but so I guess that's my answer. I guess that's my answer. But that's also very stereotypical, and that's not fair to the legions of entertainers that are wonderful husbands and wonderful boyfriends and wonderful wives and you know, fiancés and such. So, but yeah, I can understand that sentiment.
You're an awesome role model. Would you go into a little bit about what you shared with me the other day with the children? It's so wonderful that you share the gifts that you have.
Yeah, I each summer I try to take out a couple of weeks, and this it's a film and TV camp that I teach that's sponsored by a casting company right out of Philadelphia, and this is my third year doing it. I teach in Ocean City, New Jersey. It's a beautiful, beautiful little quasi-resort town there, and I teach 9 to 13-year-olds. How to, you know, act for the camera, how to produce films and TV projects. And it's funny because my first day of teaching just last week, so I go in, I introduce myself, and then I get them to introduce themselves because I want to get to know who they are and where they're from and why they took the class and so forth. And so they all went on my website that night when they got home, and they went on my YouTube channel, and so so the parents bring them back the next day, and the parents were like, "What have you done to these kids? They are so excited and excited.
Yes.
They can't sleep and this and that." And it was just, I mean, it just touched my heart. It really did. And so they knew I had this single coming out, you know, on iTunes and all that, and they said, "Well, you know, we'd like to do an interview with you." And so all 15 of them put together their crew, and there was camera people, and there was there were people writing the interview, and there were hosts, and they put together this really, really good interview. And it was just you know, and I in fact at the end of the week when I talked to the parents and I thanked them for, you know, lending me their children for 3 hours a day, you know, I tell them that, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that it's truly some of the best moments I have all year, and that's, you know, irrespective of what I do on stage or on film or anything else that I do. It's probably the most rewarding time I have of the year.
You also really love children.
Oh, absolutely.
You love children, and you have that way about you. And you know, Leonard, when you and I met with your Thanksgiving song coming out soon, that's exactly what I did too. I went to the website. I was like a Leonard Dozier fan instantly because you have that kind of charisma. And it's just magical what you bring into a room when you walk in. I mean, the big smile. It is just a wonderful thing that you get to share that with young folks.
Yeah.
They'll remember that and carry that in their hearts for the rest of their lives and their careers.
Yeah, and I know for me when they depart and I feel this little little tinkle of a tear start to form, that I know that they've done something for me. So
we're going to go to break, and we're going to come back with Leonard singing his brand new single, I Love You. Back in a moment. And we're back. You're listening to Bear This and That. I'm your host, Cynthia Deoleonardo. We are lucky enough today to have Leonard Dozier here with us today, and Leonard is about to do his latest love song, I Love You. Leonard, welcome back to the show.
Good to be back.
I am psyched. Oh, I'm psyched. So when are you and I going to do a duet? That's what I want to know.
I think we just have to decide on the duet. That's all. We just have to decide on the song. A little Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell, or we can do a little, we can do... some
Oh my word.
some Luther and Cheryl Lynn. I mean, we just got to pick the duet.
Hey, I'll be your Tammy Terrell anytime. Anytime. You just call on me and I will be there. So, whenever you're ready.
Yeah,
Ready.
let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Come here. Before you go, I just have a few things I want to tell you. Let's see. I'm older now. I've learned to mean what I say. Hey, I am wiser now, and I know when something good comes my way. Yeah. Being real, just being real. Ready to start making moves. I just feel you by my side. I can't lose. If you must, I won't let you go. Even though I don't wanna let you go. 'Cause it's more than lust, girl. I love you, I do, yes I'll admit, I know I'm not always right. No, but that's where you come in, turn that switch on so I can see the light. And being real, just being real. Ready to start making moves with you, girl. I just feel you by my side. I can lose. If you must, I won't let you go. Baby, 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 baby. 'Cause it's more than lust. I need you to know I love you, yeah, I do. We can work it out, yeah. Talk it out, talk it out, talk it out. Hold you tight while you are sleeping, kissing you. Yeah. Tomorrow it's a brand new love. Ever was. Tell me what you wanna do. Hey, I will let you. Said I will let you go. Oh, hey, need you to know, girl, I love you. I love you, girl, I do, yeah. Yes. It's more than lust. Telling you, girl, I love you. I love you. I love you. I do. I need you, girl. Love you, girl. You're the better part of me. Yeah. I won't let you go. I won't let you go. I won't beg, no.
Oh, yes. Woo! Hey, ladies, I have him right here. Sitting right next to me. Oh, my. You rocked it. Rocked it. Wow, we are all standing here so quiet. Just, oh, my word. We are just stunned.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
Leonard. I tell you what, live and in person, you just rocked it out.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is beautiful.
You know, it's a fun song to sing because I mean
You were having fun singing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a song that means a lot to me. So I think that just makes it easier to perform. So, good choice, Rob.
That is. Hey, Rob, let's talk, okay? After the show, this is phenomenal. It's phenomenal, and if you don't mind, I would like to play it later when I do my tweets and Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be my lump song of the day.
Absolutely, let's do it.
the passion that you sing this song. If I weren't here in the studio, I could feel that passion.
Mm.
You know, it just so happens I'm watching you do the song,
right.
Perform it. But the passion is really deep.
Well, I mean, and again, because this song is really a summation of, it really started as a concept song, but it, for me, was very relative to a lot of experiences, relationship-wise, marriage-wise, and, you know, and I just thought about those situations where I had to let somebody go and maybe didn't want to, and vice versa. And I said, man, you know, this just isn't talked about enough. You know, conversationally, and then of course musically, it's not something that we hear a lot about. And I said this would be a wonderful, wonderful topic. But get this, the other thing that I thought that would make sense is rather than make this some minor chord song so that it's very melancholy and down, I said, you know, let's make this song energetic. Let's give it this sense of liberation. And for me, you know, I know in constructing the song, I thought the second half of the song, you know, after the bridge was that period of saying, okay, I've asked you, I've pleaded, but now I'm ready to let you go, and I'm free. And so that's where that joy comes in, because there's something that's freeing, too, when you can comfortably let somebody go.
Oh, absolutely, and you hear that in the song.
Absolutely.
You almost feel a sense of a burden being taken off your shoulder with this song.
Yes.
And a sense of relief.
Absolutely.
Just listening to it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Totally.
But let's talk about how this personally has affected you.
Sure.
Leonard. So, at this time, I happen to know that there's been a little turbulence, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
Use that word?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's not a word that we like to talk about in our relationships, unfortunately.
Right.
But, you know, love is what it is. And love, at times in our lives, we could experience a little turbulence.
Yeah, and turbulence is a good word.
And do you think this is why you sing this with such a passion? Because it's rooted deep down?
Oh, definitely. I mean, even when I wrote it, I mean, at the time when I conceived the song, I was going through turbulence. You know, so turbulence really is a good word because, I mean, starting off constructing the song, you know, it really came from a place of, man, you know, this is how I feel. You know, this is how I feel. And, you know, and I was here before, so those that don't know, you know, I was recently separated from my wife. And so, you know, now we've been through a couple of separations, you know, in the now 10 years that we've been married, 11 years together. And, you know, so we've had a couple of separations and some separations in which I moved on, you know. Moved on, other relationships and such. And
now that's huge. There's some times when I think people need to separate, to step back from the turbulence, to get off the ride, if you will, the roller coaster, so that you can have clarity. But a lot of people don't move on. They use that time, that space, just to have clarity.
Absolutely.
But you're saying that you separated and you moved on with relationships.
Yeah.
How do you get back to that relationship when you've already moved on?
Well, I'll tell anybody this. It is the hardest thing to do. And I'm going to get deep here if I can for a second.
Please, this is the platform to do it. Yeah, right now, let's get on down with it.
Because a really, 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 really good friend of mine, he's just one of my best friends in the world. And I remember a few years ago, in fact, he got married shortly after I did. And he was going through some turbulence in his life. And I know he had a rough patch in his marriage. And I said to him, well, you know, here's one thing I want to advise you on. And, I can't tell you whether to stay, whether to make it work, whether to fix it. I can't. It's not really my job, so to speak. But I will tell you this, that if you have any desire to reconcile with your wife at some point, even if it's just to sit down over a cup of coffee and talk things out, I would strongly advise you not to get too deep at all with the new person. I mean, really keep it near platonic if you can. And I'm happy today because his marriage is thriving. Thriving.
Great advice.
Thriving.
You gave him great advice, because my next question to you is, you moved on.
Right.
So what happens to the relationship that you moved on to, and how did that affect your marriage when you wanted to go back?
On both sides.
Because now all of a sudden it's one complication on top of another.
Well, I make it akin, or I like to think it's akin, Cynthia, to the Garden of Eden. So and this is what I mean by that. That when you get married, right?
So complicated. This is why I do this show. A lot of complications all the time. It just doesn't get easy.
Yeah, but I mean, so when you get married, symbolically, your eyes are closed. Your eyes are closed to the world. You don't see the tree with the apple on it. Okay. Now, once you step away from it, whether it's separation, whether you step out, cheat, whatever the case may be, once you step away from it and you symbolically or allegorically bite that apple, now your eyes become open to other possibilities.
Especially in your case, because you
Right.
were so young.
Exactly.
So you didn't have the experience of dating
Absolutely.
and trying platonic relationships and friends, or even really experiencing life
Right.
to know what it's about and to find out who you are.
Right.
You took on a family at 24.
Right.
So, I mean, when you sit and tell me this,
Okay.
I'm always, believe me, I'm
Right.
always sorry to hear these things when relationships take a left turn. But it doesn't surprise me when I hear it, because we have to have these life experiences. We just do.
Well, yeah.
There's something to
absolutely.
be. This is how we grow.
Absolutely.
And to have a family so young. So you went back to your marriage.
A couple times. So this was a couple times after, so we've had
Did you move on
oh,
a
yeah,
couple of times too?
Oh, yeah. We've had a few
Yikes.
separations and a few moving, And I'll tell you this.
Do I know how to pick them or what? Hey, I need some great content for this show.
And it's tough. It's tough because obviously in the situations I've been involved with people who've gotten very, very emotionally involved. And me too, in some respects. So, in a lot of respects. And then, okay, you realize, well, I think I want to go back.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Like something hit you over the head that night, and you said, I got to get back with my wife.
No.
Sorry, it's been nice.
No.
I'm so glad we have this time together.